Hello students, in this video I'll answer the questions of Punnet Square in the worksheet. Question number 1, if a homozygous dominant tall, so it says one of the parent is homozygous dominant tall. Homozygous means both alleles are alike and it's dominant, so one of the parent is T capital, and the other parent, it says it's crossed with the recessive short plant. Recessive trait means both are T small, because it says recessive and it says it's short. So it's T small. So we put the letters in the question, T capital, it's one of the parent with T small. We cross them, once this T with both, T capital, T small, T capital, T small. Next time this T with both, T capital, T small, T capital, T small. Find genotype and phenotype. Genotype means the letters. So how many types of letter do we have? It's only heterozygous. So I'll write down T capital, T small, which is heterozygous. The genotype ratio, they are all T capital, T small, so the ratio is 100%, or I can say 1 out of 0, or I can say 4 out of 4. Because the phenotype, T capital, T small, as we know, it's tall, so the phenotype, the photo, it's tall in 100%, because that one is tall, that one is tall, that one is tall, that one is tall. So 100% is tall, 4 out of 4, or 1 to 0. Question number 2. In a monohybrid cross between two heterozygotes, so both parents are heterozygous, it says for a trait. It doesn't say what is the trait, so we can put any letter that we want and any trait that we want. Trait, for example, again, I will say tall and short. So both are heterozygous, T capital, T small, T capital, T small. As we know, when two heterozygotes cross, the parent is, let's solve it. T capital, T small. This T capital, T small. One homozygous dominant, two heterozygous, one recessive. Okay, so the genotype, that one is tall, that one is tall, that one is tall, that one is short. If we talk about genotype letters, we have T capital, which is homozygous dominant. Homozygous dominant. T capital, T small, which is heterozygous. T small, which is recessive. T capital, 25%. T capital, T small, 50%. T small, 25%, which is 1 to 1. Okay, or I can say 1 out of 4, 2 out of 4, 1 out of 4. Phenotype, as we see, 3 tall, 1 short. So we have tall and we also have short. But what person is tall? 75% for phenotype is tall and 25% is short. The ratio is 3 to 1. Or I can say 3 out of 4 or 1 out of 4. Okay. Question number 3. If a cross pure yellow seed, you should keep that in your mind when you see the word pure. Pure means homozygous, but it says pure yellow seed. Yellow seed is dominant. So if pure means homozygous and yellow means dominant, so the trait is homozygous dominant. So I can say Y capital. Why? Because it's pure yellow seed. Pure means homozygous, yellow means Dominant, it's Y capital, Y capital. I will add it there, Y capital, Y capital. Okay, plant with a green seed plant, cross it with what? Green seed plant, which is Y small, Y small. We know that when homozygous dominant, when Y capital crosses with Y small, all of the offspring becomes Y capital, Y small, just like Mendel's first experiment. So we know that the first generation, they all become 100% of the first generation become Y capital, Y small, or we can say yellow seed. But the question says, what will be the genotype and phenotype ratios of the second generation? So the question asks for second generation. If first generation are all Y capital, Y small, how are the second generation? It's just like Mendel's experiment. Y capital, Y small, Y capital, Y small. Why did we put that? Because it says when homozygous dominant cross with homozygous recessive. We know first generation is 100% heterozygous. But the question asks for second generation. So when Y capital, Y small cross with Y capital, Y small, what would happen? Y capital, Y capital, Y capital, Y small, Y capital, Y small, Y small, Y small, just like the other question. Phenotype will be yellow seed and green seed. What percent is yellow? 75%, just like the other question. And 25% is green, which is the phenotype, because it's yellow seed. That's yellow, that's yellow, that's green. Genotype, Y capital, Y small, Y small, Y small, Y capital, which is 50%, 25%, 25%. The ratio will be 1, 2, 1. Okay, question number 4. When a heterozygous smooth pod pea plant is crossed with a bumpy pod plant. Heterozygous smooth pod. Heterozygous, it means S capital or small. The other parent is bumpy. Bumpy pod is recessive, so it's S small, S small. How do we cross them? Find phenotype and genotype. S capital, S small, S small, S small. Cross it with both S capital, S small, S capital, S small. Next time, S small, S small, S small, S small. So genotype, S capital, S small, S small, S small. It's hetero and it's recessive. It's 50%, 50%. This is 2 out of 4, 2 out of 4, or I can say 2, 2, 2. Phenotype, that's dominant trait, that's recessive, that's recessive. So it's about smooth, so I say smooth and bumpy. What person is bumpy? 50. What person is smooth? 50. 2 out of 2, 2 out of 4, 2 out of 4, 2, 2, 2. So the ratio is 2, 2, 2 for both. Question number 5 is because it's about it's about snapdragon, so we don't have dominant or recessive. Okay, if a crow's red flowered, which as we know, red snapdragon, it's R1, R1. Cross it with white snapdragon. White snapdragon is R2, R2. Without crossing, we know when red and white cross, they all become pink. But let's find out. R1, R1, R2, R2. When you cross them, they all become R1, R2, R1, R2. This one, R1, R2, R1, R2. So genotype are all R1, R2, 100%, it's 1 to 0. But phenotype, that's pink, this one is pink, this one is pink. So the phenotype are all pink, 100%. Question number 6. If two pink flowers snapdragon cross it, so if R1, R2, which is pink, cross with R1, R2, what are the phenotype and genotype? R1, R2, R1, R2. How do you cross it? One is with R1, the second time with R2. So R1 with R2, no, R1 with R1 first, then R1 with R2. This time R1, R2, R2, R2. As we know, R2 is white, R1, R2 is pink, and R1, R2 is pink, and R1 is red. So we have one red, two pink, one white. Genotypes, if you look at the genotypes, we have R1. We also R1. We also have R1, R2, and also R2. R2 is white, but we don't talk about the pink and the color. Before that, what percent is R1? R1 is 25%. R1, R2 is 50%. R2 is 25%. How do we know? We look at the square. We know there's only one R1, so it's 25%. There are two R1, R2, so it's 50%. And there's only one R2, it's 20%. So let's talk about the phenotype. We have red, white, and pink. The red is 25, the white is 25, the pink is 50. So it's 1 to 1. And here it's 1 to 1.